welcome to another episode of Rising Stories. This podcast came about because I wanted to know how small business owners like myself handle everyday life. I also love hearing their stories on how they started their businesses or about how they wrote their first novel. My hope is that in hearing these rising stories, you will be encouraged to keep working in your own businesses or write your own book. If you're not a business owner or a writer, you will still enjoy hearing these women share their lives with us. Today on the show, we have Dr. Jana Craft, an intelligent, wisdom-filled professor who is also a writer. She's working on a book and is an I'll give it to you straight kind of gal, which I absolutely love about her. Jana is a retreat speaker. She is an assistant professor of business administration and human resource management. She has written countless articles for the Journal of Business Ethics, the Middle East Journal of Management, just to name a few. And she's also a great dear friend of mine. She's a wife, a mom, and her writer page is called Holding True. Here's my conversation with Jana. I know you're going to absolutely enjoy hearing from her. And please leave me a comment if you like these podcasts. Hi, Jana. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Hey, is it cold up there?
It's actually going to be 65 today, which is warm-ish.
That is cold here, but yeah, I bet that could be, yeah, that's warming up.
Tomorrow it's going to be 85, so we'll call that summer.
Yeah, 85 is good. Yeah. So, Jana, you and I know each other because we've known each other for is it going to be 2 years?
I think so, yes.
Okay, and we are on, we've never met in person, but we are on a launch team for a book that was released last year. And we all got to be friends on this group, Facebook group. And it's so odd to finally get to talk to you because, like, I know a different Jana than who you are. I'm looking at your stuff and I'm like, doggone, she's like legit. Like,
legit.
She's like legit business professor at a college. And I'm just like blown away. Like, I seriously did try to read one of your, your publications from the Journal of Business Ethics. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I think I may just stick with reading her blog. So tell me what you do. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Jana Craft, and I am a professor at Winona State University in Winona, Minnesota. I teach in the business administration department, and I'm actually a half-time person in management and a half-time person in human resource management. So I teach organizational behavior, and I teach human resource management and principles of management. I basically teach how to boss people around, right?
That's that.
Yep. But my research focus, just like you mentioned, the Journal of Business Ethics, my research focus is business ethics. And I've found that dovetails really nicely between like my, kind of a pastoral lay minister background and also, business background. Because when you talk about ethics, that really is in the middle. Like I teach at a public university, but how can you talk about ethics and morality without talking about some sort of, inner drive or inner compass? And so I just call it different things instead of God. But they get the deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got my PhD from the University of Minnesota, and in 2013.
Wow.
And that was in human resource development and ethics. So there's that. It was funny. I drove to the University of Minnesota from where I live right now in Winona, Minnesota, and it's 2 hours each way.
And you drove
I drove once or twice a week.
Oh my gosh.
4 kids for 5 years.
Why did you take the kids? Like, why were they going?
I didn't take them, but I mean, like,
I
have
you
kids.
had them at home, but you were,
Yes.
you were a mom of 4 kids, and you did that twice a week.
and I work full
Wow.
and I work full time. So I've been teaching in higher ed
No
for
way. You worked full time
Yep.
too and doing all that?
Yep.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
So when anyone says, "Oh my gosh, I have a 20-hour a week job and I can't do my 3 classes," I just look at them like, whatever.
Yeah.
But I had to get my PhD to be able to get here to be a tenure track professor, to have job security in higher education. And plus, I'm just a school nerd and a business geek. So it worked well for me.
So you like doing that. You like learning. You love learning. You like to learn more new things. Is that you? Am I?
Yeah, I get bored pretty easily. So I always like to learn new things. I like to talk to people about interesting things. And, I've always done well in school. By well, I mean like, a 3.3 student. Like I'm not a 4.0 student, but I can write well.
Mm-hmm.
And I can present well. And I've found that if you do those two things well, a GPA really doesn't matter where I'm at now. But I have, through grad school, I did develop my writing skills, and now blogging is a way that I can write creatively, about faith and about parenting and about ethics and business and how it all kind of comes together for women.
Wow. So you blog at janacraft.com.
Yes.
And what are some of the things you blog about?
Well, I have lately I've been blogging about spiritual stuff. Like, I have two arms of things I talk about. I have academic and corporate topics, and then I have faith-based topics. And I really spend about as much time on both of those equally. During the school year, I'll write more academic stuff, and during the summer, I'll write more faith-based stuff. Last year, when my husband and I were pastoring, it was my first year doing that, and I found myself writing more and more about spiritual stuff because I was learning more about the Bible. And I don't know about you guys, but when I find something interesting, I figure that the world needs to know. So I write it up and put a funny twist on it, and people seem to like it. So
I like that. Yeah, I think the way that I see you, sometimes I think, well, you don't take yourself too seriously, even though you have all this knowledge. You tend to really put a very authentic and personal twist to it, so that everybody can, jump in that deep end of the pool with you and talk about stuff.
yeah, I learned probably in the last 6 years. My husband and I have been married for 6 years, and it's really been a big faith journey for me this whole time. And I always kind of felt, and I didn't really know what it was called, I was always very sensitive to stuff that was fake or people that were fake. And even like when I was an undergrad, getting my bachelor's degree, it was fascinating when people would talk about, like at work and in management, when bosses or companies would, like, this is what we say we are, but this is what actually happens. And later I learned that it was organizational culture. And now what I'm learning is that it's authenticity. So I keep evolving my definition or my label for what I always found fascinating and irritating at the same time, is when people were something that they weren't. And so that really sticks with me. So now I study ethical business culture and white collar crime within the scope of business ethics. And I did my whole dissertation on what, espouse versus enacted values, or what businesses say they are versus what actually happens. And you can have that in a family or in a church or in a friendship. That really is the crux of what fascinates me. There's never a lack of examples or, inauthentic situations.
I bet. What has surprised you the most from, or where have you been most surprised with working with, I guess, college age people versus the people in church?
Oh, God. I thought you were going to say,
I think I already know the answer.
Church. You threw the church in there.
Yeah.
College age people. So I'll look at students. Even from university to university, students are different. So, I've been here at Winona State this is my third year, and prior to this, I was at a Catholic college across town, and just between those two specific, demographic, same age, but different colleges, I found unique differences. So whereas at a private university, there might be a lot more help from the family, kids go there who are a little bit more well off. Here at a state university, this is like what I did. I never had a day class. I always went to school at night. I always worked. It took me 7 years to get my bachelor's degree, which should take 4. And so I find that like the college kids that I teach now, at least in business, are pretty hardworking, good work ethic. They are very legitimately concerned about their future. They want internships. They really try. I don't see entitlement that often, and that's all I hear about millennials is that, oh, they're so entitled and they're lazy, and I'm like, no, not really, not really. So with like college people versus church people, I guess scooting back, from diving into college, but people are people, and whether it's a different generation or in a different area, like church versus work or school, I've learned the past few years that and God has reminded me of this quite frequently, is that he made all those people, and I am not supposed to look at them with a side eye, right? I am not supposed to question their motives or their decisions, because I don't know where they've been and I don't know where they're going. And so he has reminded me that my job is to walk in love. And I know that sounds like Pollyanna, right? That sounds like, oh, that's precious and sweet, but it was a good lesson for me. Like, just love everybody. And for me, that comes out into being very kind to my students, but also holding them to a high standard. For church, it comes to people are just doing the best they can, and I need to meet them where they're at. Right. And I don't happen to be at that point, then I need to have some empathy and understand that I may not know everything, and so I just need to love them and try. Mm-hmm. So it's been quite the year for me in those kind of lessons.
Yeah, that reminds me of, did you read Rising Strong by Brené Brown?
Not yet.
She talks about, like, well, I don't want to ruin it for you, but it ties into what you just said, is that she questioned, the entire book was kind of, it talked about different things, but there was a thread in her question was, do you think people are doing the best they can? Mm-hmm. And, everything from the best they know how. I can't remember how she phrased it, but even from the, strung out mom who, is on crack and has a crack baby, and to, people that are rude to you at the store or whatever, different levels. And I thought that was a really interesting question, and it made me think about, are people doing the best they can? And I know in my life, when I think about things that stem from my childhood, and like, gosh, why didn't my parents do this and why didn't they do that? It's like, well, they were doing the best they could with what the knowledge that they had, because not everybody is in your shoes, and not everybody are is in my shoes. So they're just doing the best they can because they're coming from a different, point of view and different backgrounds. So.
Right. And God's worked on me a lot with that. Who am I to say that they're not doing their best? I mean, my standard of best is not anyone else's standard of best. And I know that in my life, when I've been working on some stuff and having some not so awesome moments in my life, my best was getting out of bed, right? And getting the kids off to school, and maybe schlepping through my day and phoning it in front of the classroom. And that was my best. And for someone to look at me and say, you're not doing your best, you know what? Probably right. But at this point, it's all I got.
That's all I've got, yeah.
I have to keep that in mind. And that whole view of, like your parents did the best, that when I got that, like really got it, that's what freed me from like being mad at my dad and my parents for how we grew up, which wasn't horrible, but it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
awesome. So
Mm-hmm.
they did the best they could,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
And it just looks different.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I'm sure that, my kids and probably yours too will be like, well, why didn't they do this? Oh, why did they do it this way? Well, it was what we knew to do at the time. It's like,
right.
now we laugh and think, gosh, how did any kids survive with no car seats and no seat belts back
Right.
in the day?
Yep.
I think my mother-in-law said she put my husband when he was a baby, in a little laundry basket in the
Right.
in the
Right.
back seat. And so that was his little quote car seat.
Right. Right.
So, but we think, gosh, why didn't they do better? But that's all they had. That's all they knew. And,
We have
so.
more resources now. I think we have more information at our fingertips readily available. But I also think that people are more open and are more willing to kind of talk about things that are difficult to speak
Mm-hmm.
about. So that's and at least the people in my circle, and I think that's why authenticity and brokenness and are big factors in my life and my research and my family and my speaking, engagements. And people seem to resonate with that.
Yeah. Where do you go to speak? What speaking engagements have you done?
Well, I've mainly done local ones, and on my website, I have a list of speaking topics that are academic and corporate, but also faith-based. And just looking at my calendar last year, it really is kind of a mishmash. I spent a lot of time preaching last year. I was a retreat speaker in October, and also just this last weekend, I talked about being strong in the broken places. I also talked about being strong in the broken places for 440 college women 2 weeks ago at our annual collegiate dinner for the ladies, where all of the collegiate men ministries get together and put on a dinner for all the collegiate ladies. So
Oh, wow.
that was good. I the next Monday after I did that, I walked on campus and I felt like J-Lo or something, because people were like, oh, God, Dr. Craft, I saw you at dinner for the ladies. And I'm like, okay. It was a little crazy. Like I
That's
couldn't even stop.
great.
It was crazy. Um, but I do also a lot for our College of Business. My dean seems to think that I am like the face of the college. So I've been an MC. I've been a fashion show moderator. That was fun. I did I spoke at the Delta Sigma Pi banquet, which is our business fraternity here that I'm a part of. And I've done some trainings, and I did a lot for this year. I've done Rotary in Winona, Rotary Club, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been twice at our Women in Business luncheons. And um, yeah, probably the most fun was when I went back home and in March, and I spoke as an alumni speaker for our ROTC unit at my high school.
Oh,
Um,
wow. How
yeah,
was
that
that going back to high school? Gosh.
so fun. But that's where I kind of got my start in leadership and confidence was in our ROTC unit in high school. So I got to go back there and tell them that in this very classroom, in that very seat right there, is where my career started. So, and it was hard not to cry. It was really hard.
Wow.
It's hard not to cry now. So it was you just never know where your life's going to end up.
Yeah. And look at you now. Look where you are. That's so cool. That is so
Right.
cool. You are J-Lo. You're J-Lo.
I'm,
And
right. Yeah. I don't know about that. She's got way better legs than I do. So,
so what's a typical day for you? Walk me through what you do and well, a day in the life of Dr. Jana Craft.
right. Well, we'll do it during the school year because during the summer it's like roll out of bed, maybe eat, lay around and do nothing. No, not really, but so I have a schedule where we have 4 classes that I teach 4 classes, and I also take my kiddos to school half the week. So I'll get up and get ready, and they're getting ready. My daughters are 10 and 12. So we've got one in elementary school and one in junior high. By the way, those are two separate places in two separate towns.
You're kidding me.
Like in a separate state, actually.
What?
Yeah, so
unheard of.
I know. We have a blended family.
Okay.
And so when I decided to move across the river, a whole 6 miles across the river,
yeah,
I didn't want my girls to have to move school districts. So I figured since I was moving that I would drive them to school instead of, having them move. So half of the week on my days when I drive them, we leave at 7 in the morning, and the kids are pretty self-sufficient. They get up, get themselves ready. Girls make themselves breakfast, brush their hair. They even do their own laundry. So that's
nice.
That's me. I don't do anyone else's underwear but my own. And then we leave at 7, and we stop by my favorite, the only coffee shop really that I care about, which is Mugby Junction here in Winona, a local coffee shop, and I get my large unsweetened black iced tea for $1.71 every morning.
A large
unsweetened black iced tea.
Black iced tea.
Yes, I'm sorry for the southern.
No sweet.
No.
Oh gosh. I saw a picture a week ago or something, and you had Chick-fil-A the unsweetened tea, and I was like, what the heck? Why is she taking the unsweetened tea?
I don't like sweet tea.
You
ever.
don't like sweet tea?
No.
Like, there's no flavor. Like, what are you getting?
It's crisp and beautiful, and there's caffeine. But I don't drink coffee.
See, I don't drink coffee either, so we can have this conversation about tea, you and I. And we can battle it out, but you got to have the sugar. That's like drinking black coffee.
Well, see, the other thing, so I don't drink coffee. I don't drink hot things because when I ingest a hot thing, it makes my body hot inside, and that comes out in all the wrong places for sweat. So I just like black iced tea. It's my mother's fault. She likes tea.
Okay.
So we do that, and then we drive to the elementary school, and by this time the girls have sucked down their chocolate milks, and that's where we get to brief about the day. So like, what's going to happen today? What do you have after school? Blah, blah, blah. So I'll drop Maddie off at the elementary school, and then there is switching of places because Maddie's in the front, Emily's in the back. Maddie gets dropped off, Emily comes up to the front. Then we have our debrief girl time to the junior high, which is another 8 miles further.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
In what state?
In Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin, okay.
So we're literally on the Mississippi between Minnesota and Wisconsin. So it's like going across town. And then I drop the junior higher off, and I remind them to take their trash in with them from Mugby Junction, and they always say no, and then I relent, and then I throw it away later. And then I go to school. So we leave at 7, and I get to my office by 8:30.
Okay.
It's a good 90-minute round trip event.
Wow. Yeah.
So I get 8:30. I usually teach at 9 and at 10, and then I have an hour break for lunch because I design it that way because I usually have to pee by then too because mom bladder. And I'll have 2 more classes, and 9, 10, 11, 12, and then at 1, and then I'm done by 2 o'clock. I usually have a couple hours of prep, and then I'll go pick up said girlies, do the whole thing over again, and then we'll come home and they'll do homework while I fix dinner. And by fix dinner, I mean put something in the microwave or warm something up because I don't really cook that well. And then we've got the bedtime routine. And really, I try to not work at home when they're home. I try to not go to events on the nights that I have them because, having a blended family and having 2 nights a week that are dedicated to them, I told my boss, if anything is on a Wednesday or a Thursday night, I can't do it. I'm sorry. And that line it's been good for me to be able to balance that. So
yeah, that's really good that you made that clear. A lot of people,
we just try to reserve the nights that I don't have them on Mondays and Tuesday nights. That's when we would do Bible study, or we would, go to events or whatever. And I just try to be really purposeful about the weeks that they're home and the nights that we have them.
Yeah. And what do y'all do? Do y'all just work on homework? Of course, they have homework or whatever.
Yeah. On the weekends that they're home, their favorite weekend is doing nothing.
Just
So
hanging around.
yeah, they don't, the girls, they don't do karate or piano or like anything outside of the school day because they're introverts and they're like their mom and they need their downtime.
Mm.
So we usually end up snuggling in the bed and watching like Shark Tank on the DVR that I've recorded,
Yeah.
or Undercover Boss, or Big Bang Theory, and that we just really try to keep it low key for them.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, that's so I love that you said you're being purposeful. I mean, you're just that speaks volumes, I think, to kids to be and to be preferred. Like, mom's not doing anything because I'm here. I mean, that I'm sure that makes them feel really great.
Yeah, I will tell you that when I'm gone, like I was at the retreat last weekend and it happened to fall on the weekend that I had them. And so this is 3 weekends in a row that I
Mm-hmm.
have them, and it's killing them and it's killing me. And I told them never again,
Yeah.
ever schedule anything again that interrupts their weekend because it's too hard. It's
Yeah.
just,
Because then, yeah, then they really miss you. Yeah.
yeah.
That is tough.
So,
Fun. So what, you talk about you basically teach business classes, and you're saying you're teaching people to be bosses and tell them what to do,
be bossy.
to
Yeah.
be bossy. Um what what's the best business advice you ever got for your own career?
Oh, that was really good. It's funny. I got out of undergrad and I moved to Minnesota, and I was ended up working at a an internet startup because that was in 2000. And so it was. I remember, in management school, the big thing then was how to manage your manager. That book, and
Mm-hmm.
it was basically how to conform or how to manipulate your manager into being what you need them to be. And so I, of course, am a management geek. And so my first job, I sat down with my boss, who was a CFO. I was just thinking about him the other day, actually. And I had my little pen, paper, like Geek Central. And I said, okay, what is your management style? And like, go, right? It's funny because he was a lay minister. He'd been one for a long time, and he was getting ready to go into ministry full time. I didn't know that, and so I'm sure he looked at me like, "Oh, honey," and he just sat back and he said, "Jana, I am whatever kind of manager you need me to be." Okay, that's not in the book. All right, that
I need
no,
specifics. Yeah.
but yeah, I need. And he said, "Why don't you go and think about it for a while, and then come back?" And I said, "Okay." So I went back to my cubicle, and it was just him and I, the entire accounting department. It was him and I, and so I thought about it for a while. And I did some more stuff, and I came back. I said, I think that I need to have some freedom, and I need you to be a resource. So when I get stuck, I need to come to you, but I don't want you telling me what to do. And he goes like, okay. And so now I use that example for my students, and I remind them that, hey, guess what? The manager is actually the one who needs to respond to where their people are at. And everybody that you are in charge of is going to be at a different place in their life. And actually, there's a situational leadership model to back that up. Thank God. It wasn't just
Yes.
me. So I have to remind them to meet people where they're at, and to be empathetic, and to that it's not about you as the manager, it's about empowering your people. So there
Mm-hmm.
was that. Um, and then the other piece of advice that I got was about interviewing. And I have students all the time. Well, should I interview for this job, or should I apply for this job? And the best advice I got was, go until you have a decision to make. Don't take yourself out of the running before you even put yourself in the running. So go apply, go on the interview, go on the second interview until there's an offer in front of you. There's no decision.
Right.
So those two things I really say a lot. And then the third thing is specific to women. When I was in graduate school for my master's, I found a paper that I use the term loosely, that I wrote in the 6th grade on,
wow.
okay, are you ready? On the gender wage gap. Because I didn't understand why women were paid less than men. And that I was fascinated with that. So in management school, I decided to figure it out. And so what I found was that when you control for all the variables, women actually only make 2% difference, not 26% difference. And so when I have women walking out of college thinking that they are an automatic disadvantage because they have boobs, that's wrong. And so I really talk about that a lot when it comes to management, and say, look, you are not at a disadvantage. It's not the gender pay gap. It's the parent pay gap. When you choose to have kids, and I wrote all this up in a blog a couple years ago, but when you choose to have kids, you choose to take time off. And the time off is kind of over a nation, right? If you accumulate all of that, then that's really what speaks to our pay gap. So those things are what I want to make sure my students understand. Those 3 things I find myself saying a lot, that you're not at an automatic disadvantage because you're a woman, you know.
Yeah.
So
I love that that you tell your students to just, keep walking, keep doing, take that interview. And I know that in my world, for example, my daughter would say, "Oh, I just don't think that I can, you know, get this job or get this position or whatever." And I said, "Well, you're not the decision maker.
right.
You know, it's not your decision to make. You just go and put yourself out there, go to the interview, and let them decide whether or not they're going to take you or not. So
Right.
it's not your decision to make. So, you do your part, and they're going to do their part. So that's good advice. Yeah, I love that. So, what are 3 things that are rocking your world these days? It could be anything.
In a good way.
In a good way, not in a bad way. In a good way.
Gosh, it's I suppose that this year, I've learned that it's really important to have a tribe of people around you. I was always taught, and then therefore thought, that I could, whatever I need to do, I can do it myself. I'm not like egotistical, but I have a pretty strong sense of self and confidence, because quite frankly, standing up in front of a classroom, you better be confident, right, in what you're saying. And so I always thought that, whatever comes, I can handle it. And God really showed me this year that is not the case. And He made me to carry a lot, and He made me to lead my family when my husband has been having some mental health issues this year. But He did not make me able to do everything. So that is actually rocking my world right now, is when a tribe of people come around you and say, we've got this. You go over there, and we'll go over here, and we will just take care of it. And that's new for me. The other thing that I'm I guess maybe a brand advocate, which sounds super businessy. I love jewelry. I love Noonday jewelry. I love it, and I love buying stuff that actually helps, artisans around the world who need our help, right? Our purchasing power. And so I found that this year, actually the last 2 years, that it makes me more a conscious consumer. I can't just go to Target and buy stuff now. It kind of has to mean something. And so therefore I find myself buying less, but buying things that mean more to me. So I love my Noonday jewelry. I'm not an ambassador, but I have one, and she's wonderful too. So that's rocking me.
It's beautiful jewelry.
Oh my gosh.
I love that stuff.
I can't.
It's gorgeous. I want all of it. When I look at that stuff, I just want all of it.
I just do too.
It's hard to make a decision. It's hard to decide on one piece or whatever.
And then probably the third thing is that, we out of this Jen Hatmaker's 4,500 book launch group, we meet in the 4,500 last year, right?
Yes.
That's what we met.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that sprang a retreat called the Splendid Retreat, and a couple women. We had our first one in October, and then we just had one in Austin, Texas last weekend. And I have learned that what's rocking my world is that I guess I'm super intimidating online. And so
you think?
Oh my God.
No.
So I went
Seriously?
yeah, right. Seriously. So I went to the thing and last weekend and I had people, women who were afraid to talk to me because they thought I was really intense. Okay, I am. But so what's rocking my world right now is that I guess I need to learn how to be more open online and how I respond to things. And I watch other people who are warm and who can lead people through their words, and care for people online, which sounds really contradictory, caring for people online, right? Your online friends.
Right.
But I think maybe that's my next hurdle is how do you care for people if you only have your typed words?
Right. Yeah. Do you think that you type like give me two examples. Like, do you think when you're typing, like if someone has an issue or a problem or whatever, and then you're typing, like, that's a good question because how do you come across as being caring and not, and that's tough. That's tough because, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough question.
Okay, so you interviewed Julie Presley.
Yes. Oh, she's adorable.
Oh my gosh. We were just roommates at this retreat.
Okay.
And she was, I'm totally, she's going to be so mad when she hears this, but she was the first one to clue me in on this.
She told you.
Oh,
she was
yeah.
like, hey,
I
got to tell you.
And it's kept going. So, I think that because I do a lot, like I get a lot done. I'm really good with my time, which means that my answers are like yes and no, or good job, you have this. I mean, clearly I have more words, but I need to learn how to have my in-person warmth, which I am told I am, translate online, especially for caring for people, in these online groups and things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I'm a work in progress constantly.
Yeah, I think that's really difficult. It's true because you can't hear how the person is saying things. And, I had a situation a while back where, it's been years, a friend of mine said, well, I just don't think I can handle the competition with you. And I was like, say what?
Yeah, right. Thank you.
It just like floored me. I was like, competition? Like, what am I? I'm not competing with you. Like, when have I ever? And come to find out after kind of exploring that and talking to other friends that knew us, they were like, well, it's because I have a strong personality and like you, I kind of know what I want and when I want it, and I want to do certain things and I do them. And she was just kind of feeling like, well, I can't ever keep up or I can't compete, and there was like this I don't know, but it was, it might have been something that I said or had done, but I was like, so then I started kind of readjusting and trying to figure out like, oh gosh, I don't want to say that because that might sound like it's like I'm competing with someone. So I did try to censor myself, but I was like, I don't get it. But, you do what you can. Especially when someone says something to you, you do kind of have to think about what you can do to help that. Because the last thing we want is to be viewed as, I can't remember what they even said. Just
I've gotten the word intimidating a lot.
Intimidated. Yeah,
lot. And I think it's, because when someone puts herself out there, tell me, ask for prayer. What am I going to do with the situation? And if I have something to say about it, like blended families or going to school, I'll be like, don't do that. Stop that.
Yeah.
And there's no like, well, if you have time, you might want to consider perhaps doing. I'm just like, no.
Well, we don't have time.
Exactly.
We don't have time to type all that in.
Right, but that doesn't come across well. So
Okay.
I'm learning, and I met a lot of women. We had 64 women at the retreat, and half of them, literally half of them, came up to me at some point during the weekend and kind of would grab my arm and say, "You're so much different in person." And I'm like, okay.
I'm a person.
So I have to work on that. Other things that I like. I have learned this year to really like hummus. That's that. There's a little turn, a little twist.
Yeah,
So
I love hummus.
Hummus, that's good.
What's your favorite? Is there a type of do y'all have Sabra?
Yeah,
hummus? Yeah, I like Sabra. What about do you have like the red? See, I like the red pepper
I like that.
and the garlic something, whatever.
I will tell you, just recently, I was introduced to this stuff called pimento cheese.
Oh,
Holy
yum.
crap. It is so good. And one of the ladies at retreat, actually, in our leadership group, she swears by hers, and so she actually made a fresh batch because she
Who
was
is that?
Rachel Bruce.
Okay, I'm gonna be
She
calling
made me
Rachel.
a whole batch of it, and it wasn't pimento cheese; it was like roasted red pepper cheese, and
Yum.
I can't stop eating it.
So y'all don't have pimento cheese? Like you can't find it up in like the deli section or the like where the cheese is?
Nope.
No?
I mean, not in Winona. I mean, we're 30,000 people. We have
Yeah.
a Walmart. So,
Well, last weekend my husband and I did this crazy thing, and it's going to tie back to pimento cheese, but we followed this food truck, and we were like, "Where's that food truck?" It's the grilled cheesery
oh, okay.
food truck. I think that's what it's called, and it was parked at this brewery, and well, it was a bar. It was a brewery, craft beer bar. But it was parked there, and we were like, and it was raining outside, so we were like, what are we gonna do? We're just gonna go into this brewery and eat our pimento cheese. I mean, eat our grilled cheesery. But he got pimento cheese, pimento mac and cheese,
Oh, that'd be
grilled cheese, like it was inside the sandwich and grilled.
Nice.
It was to die for.
I bet.
I'm glad I didn't order it because I would have eaten the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
I just got the plain. But anyway, so, wow. Yeah, pimento cheese rocks my world, too.
Jen Hatmaker's fault. Like, I'd never heard of pimento cheese before the Jen Hatmaker saga started.
Oh, yeah. She did have like a recipe or something, right?
Right. So, that was action.
Those are good stuff. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Are you watching? Are you a Netflix watcher? Do you watch anything on Netflix?
I am a Netflix watcher. Mm-hmm.
What do you watch? What are you watching now?
Well, actually, right now, since I've been traveling, I'm not watching anything. But the last series that I finished was House of Cards, which is like this season I watched it like with one hand over my face because it was like I almost can't get through it because he's so diabolical. And his wife is Robin Wright plays the wife, and she's fantastic. So
She's beautiful.
I look like her at like 55 or whatever. I'll be doing good.
Mm-hmm. You do look like her a little bit.
I'm just short. So I'm a Gilmore Girls fan, so I've run through that a few times on Netflix. What else am I like? I couldn't get. I don't know. I try to find series, and then when I finish one, I'm sad. Like I watched Nurse Jackie, and that was rough. Oh,
how many seasons is that, Nurse Jackie?
Like 5.
Okay, well, that's not too bad. I just finished. Well, this year finished watching Parenthood, which I had.
Oh yeah, I did that one too.
Yeah, and I didn't like when it ended.
Of course not.
It's like I'm having to say goodbye to old friends. They've moved away.
I do like The Walking Dead too. My son and I will watch that.
My son likes that too, but I cannot get into it. I can't get past that gore. I'm not.
Yeah, I've learned that eventually it's not even about the zombies anymore. The humans who are left are the scarier part. So it's more of like a psychologically intense thriller now, and honestly, it's not even my bag. Like, I'm not a horror person, I'm not a zombie person, but I really like that show. So, oh, and then Downton Abbey. I had a Downton
Oh,
Abbey
yeah.
party every Sunday night with my friends. So we would have a Downton Abbey watching party. While I had my book club going, when we were writing our book last year. So I really like that too.
I love Downton Abbey.
Mhm.
What's your favorite app? Do you have a favorite app?
No, because I have a Android phone, which I hear is not awesome. I'm not. Here's okay. Here it is. There are two things that I refuse to purchase myself because I hate the process of buying them. One is a car. I mean, I bought cars before. I hate buying cars, and I hate going to the Verizon store, the phone store.
Yeah.
Every single favor that I have that I can ever pull for my husband, like I use all of them on just go get me a phone and just go pick out a car. Yeah. So when it comes to like apps and stuff, I don't care.
You don't care about the apps?
Do not care.
Okay.
So
I thought maybe you were going to say you were asking him to put stuff onto your phone. Like,
no,
so do you download stuff or?
I'll do like, music and stuff if I'm walking on the lake or anything, or podcasts. I actually really do love This American Life is my favorite podcast.
Mine too. I love that. I haven't finished the first one, but Serial. Yeah, I haven't finished. Serial. I haven't finished This American Life. I'm almost done, but.
Well, they have like 600 episodes of the actual, the weekend one. But yeah, so other than that, I'm in front of a screen all day. And so, it's just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you reading? Are you a reader?
I am a reader. Actually, okay, this is not a Julie Presley plug, but I literally just finished her first book this morning because she gave it to me at retreat.
Oh.
So Stones of Remembrance. So, but I usually, like last year when we had a book club, so 2 years ago I was struggling with difficult topics in church, and I had kind of just started my journey with like coming back to God and really responding to what he wanted me to do, which, by the way, not fun. Beneficial, but not fun. Mm-hmm. And so I decided that I was just going to find answers to things that really bugged me. And I'm a person that, well, let's talk about it. Like, if it's hard, let's talk about it. So I decided that I was going to have a year-long book club about writing a book. And I brought together 17 women from various areas of my life that I've grown up in, like that I went to church with or worked with, or a couple of them were bikers. We used to ride with a religious biker gang thing. And we started this project where we brainstormed and thought about all the things that bugged us or that we weren't clear about, but couldn't talk about in church, but probably should.
Yes.
So we did that. And we chose, it was a 9-month process, and I chose books that would address each of the 9 topics that we chose. And that's what I'm writing a book about, is our experience.
Your journey with that.
Yeah, each session is a chapter. And in the middle of that, I got called into ministry. So that's why I call it Wrestling the Fog, a journey from cynic to clergy, because I am the world's biggest cynic. And I'm trying not to be, but yeah, so that's really actually where a lot of my growth came, was through that project. And now part of that tribe that I mentioned that I've been really beneficial, that they were one of the first people to step up and help us this year. So yeah, so that's kind of the big thing on my radar, is finishing this book. So
yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I have enjoyed this conversation. I love getting to know you more, and you didn't intimidate me, although I just thought, oh my gosh, I hope I can keep up with her, her smarts. That was the only thing. But I wasn't intimidated as much as I was like, is she going to talk over my head, or are we going to be Can I?
No. I don't, that's how I feel when I go to conferences. I look around and go, look at all these people I've cited. They're like super fancy and smart. Yeah. And then we all end up having a glass of wine together after the conference. Like, oh, they're just like me. They're just normal. We just talk fancy.
And that's true. I mean, like you were saying, everybody's the same. I mean, they're just people. And, I find that all the time when there's that time where you become authentic and you're like, you know what? This is who sorry, I goofed or, and people are very forgiving and,
Yeah, I think it's when people don't know who they are, that's when it gets a little screwed up. Because, I tell my students also, and my kids, if you're not the same person at home that you are at work, than you are at church, that you are with your friends, that you are in the classroom, there's something wrong. Because what you see is what you get with me. And that took a long time to realize, to really get to, well, which Jana is the real Jana? Mm-hmm. And it's really nice to know that. And it took me 40 years to get there. So, they're 12 and they're still figuring it out. My daughters and my students are 22 and they're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a process. 40 is much better than 14 or 24. That's for sure.
Yes. Well, thanks, real Jana, Dr. Jana.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Wasn't she great? Jana rocks, and I loved having her on the show. This was one of those shows that I just kept listening to as I was working on it because there's so much information. And you can find all of the links to this show and everything else we talked about at CorrineSandifer.com under Rising Stories Podcast. If you can spare a few minutes, please take some time to leave me a comment on iTunes, as this helps others find the show. I would love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to reach out. If you have someone that you think should be on the show and that would be perfect for the show, please leave me a comment or message on the website. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you can get these shows in your app every Thursday. Have a great day.